Factorio Space Age, is it worth it 1 year later? Factorio Space Age is the first and only expansion to Factorio that allows you to go to space. This DLC has 4 different planets for you to explore, each completely different, look completely different, also have different threats, and you will unlock different research, which is the main reason you go to these islands, and you can use this research on different islands too. So this adds a lot more content to the game and a lot more playtime, but is it actually fun to play through? Is there a lot of good mechanics? Is there some bad choices in this DLC? Well, let's find out. When you first start Factorio Space Age, you will need to complete the first map, which is Novice. Now this is more easier than it was previously. They made it a lot more easier to complete, so you can get to these other planets with a decent playtime. When you finally launch the rocket on the default planet, you will then unlock a space station, and you want to put like lots of platforms on this space station, lots of inserters, whatever you want on this space station, because it can actually go in space, and it's a whole base in space. And once you have made this ship will take you to all these different planets. Now the further out you go in the solar system, the harder it is to maintain the ship. There's going to be bigger rocks that you're going to have to shoot at. These rocks are going to use up your ship's ammo, so it's pretty easy on the first islands, but as soon as you get to the last island, you're not going to be able to hover over that atmosphere, whatever you call it, for very long, because you will just run out of ammo and die. You can also transfer different resources off of these islands, so if you've completed the default main island, I do recommend you get some resources, whatever that might be is completely up to you, so you can offload those onto the new planet and give yourself a little kickstart. The first 3 planets, and I think also the 4th planet, you can go in completely naked and not have any items on you whatsoever, and you're going to be able to get the planet items and all of the base stuff that you need to build a base on the island itself. You're not going to need to transport anything from the main default island. Now because every planet is completely different, it will take you a while to understand the mechanics, so do it one by one and literally go into the planet. You're going to need to look up a lot of YouTube videos, maybe some wiki or Steam discussions, do anything you want. It's very difficult to go in game and just look at the tutorial in game or the Wikipedia in game. You're not gonna be able to understand much from that. Once you are on that planet, you are stuck on that planet. There's no way to get out. You need a rocket silo, which by the way, I highly recommend you get the materials for a rocket silo from your default planet. Just put them on the ship, then you can just drop them off on the planet that you're on. So you've got some way to get back up there again, drop off some other resources too. Now the researchers these planets have can all transfer onto the other planets or even the default planet. So there's a lot of researchers. I will not cover all of them because there is a lot, but just know you can upgrade your character armor. There's a lot of good stuff there. You've got a mech that can actually fly over cliffs and is very slow, but it's a lot more convenient. There's also a lot of defense research available on these planets, and they will give you more turrets, and you can use these turrets on any planet you want. But saying that, you do need to craft some of these items on the planet that you can unlock them on. The game lore behind this is that each planet has different pressure levels, and some things you can't craft at a certain pressure level, but you don't really need to know any of that. That's just the lore behind it. Let's go into detail of each of these planets, not fully covering the planet because there's spoilers and you need to research and do all this yourself because it's honestly amazing the stuff that you unlock. Vulcanus is a planet that most people go to. I actually went to this planet last and regret it because there's a lot of stuff you can craft on this planet. On this planet you will get calcite, which is something to mine. You will get sulfuric acid, which is something you need to pump as a liquid, and you'll get coal and also tungsten being the main one, which is used in most of the new research items. Now the whole design of this planet is lava based, so you can melt down these resources and turn stuff into like molten iron, which then you can turn into normal iron sheets, and this way you can unlock the normal basic base stuff from just these 3 resources, was it? Now the threat on this island is very easy, it's very welcoming. It is just a worm. This worm will completely kill you, but it won't kill your base if you're not in its territory. The way this is set up is that this worm has a territory, and to build in this territory you're going to want to kill the worm so it will never touch you again. Pollution does not exist on this planet. There's no one ever gonna touch your base or attack your base if your base is in a safe zone. That means you can take as long as you want. It's very chilled and it's very relaxed. You also get some evolution on the worm. You get a small worm which will be surrounding your base starter area. Then you will get a medium worm a bit later, a bit further on, and then you'll get a large worm. Now these worms have more health and more health and more health. You're going to need more researchers, you're going to need more armor maybe. You're also going to need a lot more power and defense and DPS. Now the main reason to go on Vulcanus is a big mining drill. This is a huge upgrade, which by the way you should also use on the default island. It's so huge, it covers a really large radius, it mines really quick, and it also gives you productivity without the productivity modules. With the modules you're going to get so much more free ore. You will also unlock green belts, so blue belts can transport items at 45 per second and the green one can do 60 per second. And it will also have a longer underground range, which is the main reason you would want this. Just be aware the main enemy on this planet is cliffs. There's absolute cliffs everywhere. You're gonna need to set up cliff explosions as soon as you really can. Fulgora. Fulgora is an amazing planet. Also, there's no danger here. The only danger is lightning strikes, which will occur every 3 minutes. And you will have an item in this planet where you can, if a lightning strike hits the item, it hits a radius around the item, it's going to give you electric charge, it's going to give you power, and then you just need accumulators to hold this charge. That is your main way of getting power. Solar panels do also work pretty well here. But you are not rushed into anything here. Again, you can play at your own pace. One thing that I will say is because days are only 3 minutes long, and half of those is like a lightning strike, you're going to get power decently quick, but one setting that you need to turn on, there's a setting in graphics. If you just go to graphic settings and you search, it's called show full screen flash. I recommend you turn this off. If not, I don't have epilepsy and I'm completely cool with my eyes, they're not even sensitive, but man, every 3 minutes it just gets so annoying, so I recommend you turn that setting off. Apart from that, Fulgora, how is it? This island's a really great island to start on. It does require a learning curve as every single ore deposit is scrap, it's not one specific ore. This scrap will then need to go into a recycler, which then has an RNG chance to be anything. It could be just iron, it could be plastic, circuit boards, and you can recycle items too to get a higher chance and maybe get something better. I do recommend you might go online and look up a few blueprints to see how people are really doing it before you go in yourself, or look at a few YouTube videos. There's an extreme learning curve here. Once you know it, it's super simple and easy, but there's definitely a curve. You will be stuck on this for a good 20 minutes. I'd recommend, like I said, look up a blueprint or something. You don't need to use it, just to see how people's bases are, and definitely look up some YouTube videos. There's definitely a learning curve to this one, but you are not pressured whatsoever. There's no enemies that's going to kill you, it's just lightning strikes. And if it's set on islands, right, and you can't go between these islands, there's a deep, I forget what they call it, but it's too deep to build on. You're going to need foundations, which you unlock end game. You're not going to have them soon. So if you have a drone setup going between islands, your drones are probably going to die while traveling between these islands, because the lightning rod radius, which is what gives you charge from lightning strikes, isn't enough to cover between islands. So just keep that in mind. Not much to say about this island. You have scrap, which is just the only mineable ore resource, and in the water you will have heavy oil. You can turn these into anything you need, like I said, to get a basic base going. So the research on Fulgora, there's actually a lot of options here. You will get an electromagnetic plank, which is basically just a normal crafting device, but again, it will give you productivity. I think it's a half ratio, so if you make 2 iron plates, you'll get 1 for free, for example. You will also be able to unlock a mech. Now this mech is really good. It has a really good equipment grid straight off the bat without using quality, and it's also allowing you to hover over cliffs or water or anything in the game, lava, anything. You can just hover over it infinitely. To my knowledge, it doesn't even use any charge of the battery or absolutely anything. It's just for free, and it makes it a lot more easier to get to places. You will also unlock the Mark II battery here. In the vanilla base game, you will unlock this on the default planet. I really dislike how they have 2 different versions of the game. There is non-space age and space age. In non-space age, all of the research is available to you on the default planet, of course. You won't get the space age research, but on the space age, which is technically DLC, you'll get some of the research of the basic default Factorio merged into these other planets. So if you had the spider on the default Factorio and you go to space age, you're not going to have that anymore because it's locked behind a different planet. I really hate how they've done this. You will also unlock a bigger battery, which is just an insane amount of battery that you can store on your personal grid or maybe a vehicle grid. There's a few other researchers too on Fulgora, but you can discover those as you will. Gleba is the next planet, and Gleba is so special. Lots of people hated Gleba, lots of people don't understand Gleba. I will say that Gleba is probably the best planet out of all of them. There's just wildlife here which I've never seen anything like. It's completely amazing and so difficult to kill. So Gleba is a planet where there's basically no mineable resource apart from stone, and you will get all of your resources from mining rocks in the very beginning. This will only take not too long before you can then level up, and you will plant trees, and then these trees will give you two types of resources. Basically, you make these resources into absolutely anything and everything. You can do so much. You can craft all of the base game whatever. You won't be able to craft stuff from other planets. Probably you're gonna need to import stuff at that point, but everything from like the base planet Novice you're going to be able to make on Gleba just from using these trees. And what I will say is it's unlimited resources. These trees will plant, they only need seeds, and you're going to get seeds every single time. There's a good ratio on this too. You're going to actually have an extreme amount of seeds by the end of it once you've let your base run a lot. Now this does have pollution, this planet, and it also has enemies, and those enemies are going to try to kill you. Walls do absolutely nothing because they have long legs, they can go past them, so you're going to need to find a way to slow them, stun them, kill them. It's very challenging. I don't recommend it as your first planet to go to. Also the research isn't as good as the other planets which are easier, but it's a very fun planet to do. It's a very fun planet to master. It's a very interesting planet. It's really good. It's really good. The upgrades on Gleba, so the research on Gleba is also pretty end game. There's going to be lots of infinite researchers here. You can upgrade the research of plastic infinitely. You can upgrade the research of flammables infinitely, which is flamethrower basically. And rocket fuel, you also get mines and rockets. There's just a lot of infinite research going on. You'll unlock some different stuff too, like efficiency module 3, and there's a few different good things here too, like a stack inserter. This is really great. A stack inserter will allow you to stack more than the default amount on a belt, so you can basically get double value out of your belt from this stack inserter. It is slower than a bulk inserter or a fast inserter, but it does stack double, so just get multiple of them and you're going to be good to go. It's really underrated. I'm starting to like build my bases around this mechanic. It's so amazing. There's lots of hidden mechanics on Gleba too. You're going to get biter eggs. You don't need to know what those are, but basically you can go back to Novice and get a spawner. You can capture it and keep feeding it stuff from Gleba and you're good to go. One thing that I completely didn't mention is the spoil mechanic in Gleba. Everything spoils. Absolutely everything spoils, apart from a few things like your iron ore and whatnot, but most of the things are going to spoil, and they only have a shelf life and it's very limited. Some things are an hour. I believe the research is an hour, and some things are 2 minutes 30 seconds, and they're going to spoil, and once they're spoiled they're no good, but you can recycle the spoilage. But this gets a bit of an inconvenience, so you're going to need to plan your whole base around this mechanic. Don't turn a blind eye to it. You're going to need it on like every single building to have a spoilage output. That's what you're going to need. Also, if you want to transfer the research away from this planet to your default main island Novice, you can do that, but if it spoils over there, you're going to have spoilage. There's nothing to your spoilage on apart from efficiency 3 modules. You can fit a lot in a rocket. There's 2000 capacity in a rocket, which then you can send back to Gleba, but I don't know why you would, because Gleba's basically really has unlimited resources, so it's pointless. Anyway, that's spoilage. What I might recommend do is just bring all your research to Gleba, so then if anything spoils, it's never going to leave Gleba. But I haven't done that, and I have a very big spoilage pile on the main planet. It's no big deal. It's really no hard mechanic, just something to keep in mind. So those 3 planets that I've just mentioned, you can, as soon as you complete the base game planet, you can go to any of those islands that you want. Like I said, some are easier than others. I completely recommend Vulcanus first, or Fulgora. I did Fulgora first on my playthrough, which worked out pretty well. But I wouldn't choose Gleba. However, you can choose Gleba. It's completely your option. It's there for a reason. In my opinion, Gleba's there for a reason. Just if you've played through Space Age before and you already know Gleba, you can experience it easily. I don't think it's there for a newcomer to do it straight away. And the final island is Aquilo. Now, Aquilo is very difficult. It's extremely difficult. Let me explain why it's difficult real quickly. The atmosphere of Aquilo, like where your spaceship hovers, has really big rocks that you need to fire rockets. Not even rockets, is it? No, it is rockets, right? It's rockets. You need to fire rockets at, and you're gonna run out of rockets eventually because they just keep coming, and you're not getting resources. Even with research upgrades, you're not getting resources fast enough to balance out the rockets that you're spending. So really, your ship wants to go to Aquilo, drop off lots of resources, pick up resources from Aquilo, and then go off to a different planet. Now, why is this planet so hard? This planet is insanely hard, actually. There's nothing that will kill you. You will not die on this planet. You will just be stranded there until you're bored of the video game. That's happened to me, I think, like a lot of times, more than a few times. It's a very slow to start planet. You're gonna want to build a base. You're gonna want to do all of this, and you can't do anything. And your character's on the island, so you're gonna have to just remote view back to your other planets. So it can get boring, it can get messy, but this is why. It's a very cold island. Well, it's not an island, it's a planet, but there's lots of islands, right? So it's a very cold planet, and you're gonna need to heat up something. And once, I think the steam turbine gives you power, right? But it needs to be at 500 degrees, and so you've got to heat it up. You can heat it up using any sort of fuel. You've got rocket fuel, which is, I believe you can use rocket fuel. Actually, you might not be able to, but you can definitely use solid fuel, and it will heat up eventually. It takes an absolute tremendous amount of time to heat up. Finally, once it's heated up, you need to maintain it with even more solid fuel, even more fuel, even more fuel. And you can do this, but it just takes a long time to heat up, and then you finally get power, right? And then you realise there's nowhere to build because there's lots of little islands. So you're going to need a boatload of foundations to lay out, and you're going to need a lot of platforms, not foundations, they're technically called platforms to lay out. And you're going to need even more heat rods. I don't know what they're called, but it's basically they transfer heat. It's a wire that transfers heat to other buildings and pipes. You need heat on absolutely everything. You've got to transport those from different planets. You will need more than 1,000. You will probably need 4,000 or 5,000 for a big base. It's a very bad mechanic, but it makes sense. It's just very slow. It starts way too slow. You're there for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours doing absolutely nothing, just waiting for the heat to rise and waiting for the platforms to build. It's so annoying. It's so not good. But once it's up and running, eventually when that time happens, it will be good to go. You won't need to rely on absolutely anything. Resources is all oil form, so you technically never run out of resources, but it will keep going down to a minimum limit, and which is really good. So you can basically set up Aquilo and then forget about it, and you're completely good. You have more to worry about the ship being over Aquilo than you have to worry in Aquilo itself. Once Aquilo, and you're getting the research from Aquilo, you're building the research specific things in Aquilo to transport out, you're pretty good. You will never need to worry about this again. Now this is an end game planet, and you can't get here straight off the bat. You need to go to other planets that then connect to this planet. So what research do you get that's actually good, actually going to be worth it? Well, the main research for me is foundations. You're going to get foundations which you can place in other planets. So for example, in Fulgora there was the ocean, which was heavy oil, and you couldn't build into there. So these foundations let you build in there. In Vulcanus there's lava. You can't build on the lava. You can't put foundations on the lava. You can't put platforms on the lava, but you can put these foundations on the lava, heavy duty foundations. So you can use the research off of this planet and make your other planets better, which is why it's so good. You also get lots of defense options for railguns. It uses railgun ammo too. It's a really powerful weapon. I do recommend it, and you actually need this to go to the Shattered planet, which you shouldn't really go to, but it's technically the end game Shattered planet. You can go a certain distance to it, and then you will kill the rocks. The rocks explode. You're going to get items to then make research, and then you're going to come back. So it's not a real planet that you go to. You just go so far to get your resources, come back, for example. But you need a railgun for it. You cannot shoot these big huge rocks with rockets. You will also get a portable fusion reactor, which is very similar to a uranium reactor. It works the exact same way, does the exact same thing. You also get a normal fusion reactor, which you can use for power. It's like nuclear power, but it's fusion power instead. That's a quick walkthrough of each planet and very end game stuff. Is it good? Is it worth it? What is there to do in these planets? One thing that I must make clear, and it's probably expected, in the default novice planet, you're going to have a huge base, you're going to have all resources all over, and hopefully you've got train deposit, train and logistics, anything set up in this planet, and it's going to be widespread. If you go to other planets, you will not have that same widespread base. Matter of fact, some of these planets, you can have one compact base, and that's going to give you enough research that you're ever going to need, and you will not need to go and explore all of these different ore locations and do all of this different stuff. You will for a few planets like Fulgora. It still has mineable scrap, and Gleba has a mineable stone, but you're not going to need to branch out as much as you would in a default planet. This means these islands take less time to complete than the default novice planet. That's not a bad thing. I think that's a really good thing. It allows you to complete Space Age in a timely manner. That being said, it still took me about 280 hours to complete Space Age, but I did spend probably 80 hours just on the default main planet. So in United Kingdom, the price of this DLC is £30, and it will never go on sale. It has no plans to go on sale. Factorio don't do sales, and you can look into this yourself. They just don't do sales, and there's no need for a sale. It's a game, you buy the game, you get what you pay for. Matter of fact, you get a lot more than you pay for. The base game's £30, you're going to get hundreds of hours of content out of it, and the Space Age is also £30. You're going to get hundreds of hours of content out of it on one playthrough, by the way. You can obviously play this game multiple times. This game is made for you to be played multiple times. So was it worth my time? I'm going to calculate it like, is it worth my time more than is it worth my money? Yeah, it's worth your money, but is it worth your real life time? You're going to be spending a lot of time, you're going to be learning a lot of mechanics. Is it worth it? In my opinion, yes, but there's a big caveat. Go and play normal Factorio first, obviously. Complete it fully, and if you enjoyed the experience, get the DLC. Because if I've played Factorio, I got this game when it came out nearly, I think I'm probably 2014, somewhere around then I bought Factorio. I played it, it was cool, never touched it again. And then recently Foundry came out, I played that, completed it, loved it. So then I thought, I'll go back to Factorio and play it again, and it's been more polished now, it's a lot more enjoyable in my opinion, but it might not be the game for you, you might not like the graphic style. More importantly, the camera perspective allows you to do so much, but you might not like it, you might prefer third person, and if you do, Satisfactory, Foundry, they're perfect games for you. By the way, on Steam there is also a basic Factorio demo. I highly recommend you try out the demo, because honestly you can do so much in the demo and you're going to get a good taste of what the game is. So if you liked default Factorio or the demo, and you fully completed it, like I said, don't get this DLC if you don't complete the base game. You're going to want to complete that first and then start up a different playthrough of Space Age. That's the ideal thing. You can switch your save, but it doesn't fully work great because of reasons I mentioned earlier, with the research being split to different islands, planets. There's obviously some negative to this, and it's very time consuming. Every planet requires at least 20 minutes of research prior to even going on the planet, because you're going to need to know how to kickstart the planet and what buildings and materials you're going to need to deposit from Novice, the default island. Again, you don't need to on any of the first islands, but you do on Aquilo. But on the first islands, it's going to kickstart you a lot more better. So you're going to need to know all of this, and you might not want to do that. And for me, I didn't really care too much. I just did what I thought, and when I got stuck, I would have to go to YouTube, and I had to go to YouTube on every single planet. Even with the Factorio wiki, it's just no good. If none of those are issues for you, yeah, pick this up. You're not going to regret it unless you hated Factorio base game. You will not regret picking up Space Age. Now, the updates that Space Age has gotten since the release all the way a year ago, there's been so many updates, lots of bug fixes, but even just quality of life fixes and balance changes, there's been a whole load of those. Right now it's in the best state it's ever been in, and they've not made any bad changes, none really real bad changes since when the DLC launched. So it feels like it's just on the up and up. It's like this game's really amazing and it just keeps getting better, and I don't know how, but it just does, and it's a charm to play every single time. Same with the DLC. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit of a longer one. I had fun making it. I've been playing this game for the past 3 months non-stop, so yeah, I do recommend this game. I've got an addiction to it. Go and pick it up, and goodbye. Hopefully I will see you in the next one.